Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Johnny TCG video. Today, I've turned to the dark side. Yes, the rumors are true. I did switch going from Bonnie as my main deck, I think, to Black Rob Lucci. How the mighty have fallen. I started out this channel playing a lot of off meta, and look at me now. Don't worry, there'll be other decks, of course, but recently I've just been playing a ton of Rob Lucci. I'm partially doing this in response to all the Dofi matchups I faced in a recent Treasure Cup. As Bonnie, when they were just able to spam out bodies, I really did not have an answer for them. But with Lucci, hopefully with the techs in this deck, you have a better shot at beating the Blue Dofis, which are one of the most common decks this format. For those that don't know, Rob Lucci's leader ability is when attacking, you trash the top 2 cards of your deck and then give one of your opponents -1 cost. If you're newer to the game, trashing 2 cards from the top of your deck might sound a little bit bad, but really with the cards in this deck, that's actually a great thing. It's not a downside at all, really. Well, except when you trash a Gecko, that feels pretty bad. The name of the game for this deck is just to KO as many of your opponent's characters as possible while building your own board. That's the name of the game for most black decks, and for a lot of people, and myself included, Rob Lucci probably does this best. Rob Lucci has been one of the most popular decks for 2 sets in a row now, so I don't think we need to do an entire deck breakdown. You will probably know a lot of these cards already. Know and hate them, to be honest. I did get this deck list from the second place player in the most recent Treasure Cup, the Carta Magica Treasure Cup on November 9th. I'm going to put a screenshot of his Twitter up on the screen right now so you can go check out his page. What I found really interesting about his list is that he ran some Borsalinos that I previously was not running. He also is running Soap Sheep, which I think is absolutely necessary just because of the Blue Dofi matchup. This card makes things so much easier. Between this and your leader ability, being able to -1 from one of your opponent's characters, you're able to set up a Rob Lucci play so wonderfully. It's absolutely amazing. This card could maybe even be a 3 of, but there's just not a lot of room in this deck. There's a lot of cards that you need, not a lot of room for counter. It can be pretty tough at times, and that's why when you low roll, this deck is probably one of the worst decks, just because a lot of your best cards aren't searchable. This deck runs 9 2Ks, so you got to be careful how you use them. Before we get to the gameplay, of course, I've got a giveaway for you. Johnny TCG has a giveaway in every single video. All you have to do is 1, leave a like, 2, leave a comment, and if this video gets 15 likes in the first 24 hours, I'm giving away one of my signature Moneybob Don. Throw it on screen, editor. Boom. Yes. Shout out to Moneybob. If you want to have the most aura at locals, you definitely need this Don. The aura levels are unmatched. One last thing before we get into the gameplay, consider hitting that subscribe button. We are so close to hitting 800 subscribers. I can smell it, and it smells kind of good. We are on a quest to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year because my wife said that if I don't, she's trashing all my One Piece cards and kicking me out of the house. So please consider hitting that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me, and I think I've got some good content coming your way that you'll want to watch. And that's enough yapping for me now. The deck list will be in the description, so you can copy and paste it into the sim. Roll the gameplay. Our first game of the day is against DeMarco. I choose to go first because I do not want them to play the new starter deck Newgate on curve. That card is ridiculously strong, and I do not want them to be able to KO whatever I played out the turn before. We do not have a turn 1 play, but that is perfectly fine. On our 3 down play, I'm thinking that we play out Brook, and then on our 5 down play, we can go Rebecca, Hina, and then KO whatever they play with our Brooks when attacking ability. We're going to start off by swinging 5,000 with leader, trashing the top 2 cards of our deck. Unfortunately, we do trash a Gecko, which is not ideal, but hey, we got to do what we got to do. I almost play the Hina out first just because that will be able to get us a swing on their leader next turn, but I realized that the combo with playing Hina next turn and then swinging with Brook if he's still on the field would help me remove whatever character they play this turn. They're going to use leader ability, draw 1, put 1 at the top of their deck, and then swing 6,000 at me. This, I'm going to take. There's no reason to use my Rebecca and my Helmeppo as counter. We get the Khalifa 2K, which is not bad at all. We do still need to find some top end, but hey, we're looking pretty good for the early game. They do play the Ivankov into the Duval. This is a very popular build that I think was popularized by Vampire Gaming. He's a great YouTuber. Check him out. He recently did very well in a Treasure Cup, I believe it was, with a very unique Marco build, and so this deck is likely inspired by it. We're going to use leader ability and swing 6,000, which they will block with, which is great for us. We want to get that blocker off the board. Now we're going to be able to do Rebecca, take back the Borsalino, which will be good to play potentially next turn if we don't find anything else to play. It won't be able to get removed by the 7-cost Newgate because on your opponent's turn, it can't be KO'd by effects. It can be bottomed decked though, so if they run Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, that card will be going to the bottom of our deck. They're going to minus my Brook with leader ability and then swing 6,000 into it. With 5 down left, I'm tempted to block with Rebecca, but I expect a rush ace is coming. There we are. And so now I'm going to actually use my blocker Rebecca to save my Hina. That Hina I want to keep on board to get some swings with. I will be able to potentially get rid of this ace if I want to lower its cost and then play Rebecca into Brook to KO it that way. They'll use the effect and then I could swing into it with Hina and leader. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I also might want to set up a Borsalino just to prepare for a potential Whitebeard play and play a little bit more defensively. I don't have any ideal plays right now, I'd say. I think a Jack would be good, but alas, I do not have it. We're going to go big into the ace. I don't think this is the most ideal play line, but I still think it would be solid if they didn't save it. They're going to give me a 2K and a 1K. Now I'm just going to go 5 into lead. You could make the argument that maybe I should have just threw all my down on Hina and swung big into the ace just to clear it. But I go with the Rebecca, and I actually don't bring back the Brook. I bring back the Jack just because I don't have any top end in my deck or in my hand right now, and I want to get some. I'll be able to KO basically anything they play next turn, and that is why I took the Jack. They're going to use leader ability, draw a card, put a card at the bottom of their deck, and then minus Hina. Then they're going to play down the pudding. That hurts a bit. At least we do find a Gecko and have 2Ks to go with it. 6,000 at the Hina. If I block here, they'll just swing into it with the ace. So I am going to let it go. Now 7,000 at me. I am just going to take that, see what we can get. And then for 2 Dawn, they play out the Duval blocker. I think my next play might be an... that's tough. I could Soap Sheep and then get rid of their Duval and their Pudding. I could try to get rid of their Ace with effects. Once they use his ability, then swing into it with Lucci. It is definitely a tough decision. We're going to start out with 5,000 from leader, giving -1 to the Charlotte Pudding. They are going to use Duval to block out of that swing. We might do a defensive play here with Gecko, maybe bringing back Rebecca Hina or Rebecca Brook. That's a little bit of an interesting idea. We're not going to play anything breasted. We can't. And then I think I might actually take back Jack, because Jack will combo very nicely with an Ice Age and a Soap Sheep. That's what we'll do. We won't play anything with Rebecca's effect, and we'll pass. Having 2 Rebeccas on the board does not really feel that safe. They could get KO'd or bottom decked in a variety of ways with Marco's color combination. They are at 10 Dawn and are going to use their leader ability. This could be setting up for a Sanji play, which would be pretty rough. The Sanji play into maybe a Dragon or Rayleigh. Rayleigh, the worst of the 2 to see right now, would be rough for me. I don't have a lot of counter in hand. I think I should give them a blocker here. I decide I'm actually going to counter out of this. In hindsight, I don't know if I agree with that. I think maybe getting rid of the blocker would have been better, but let me know what you think in the comments below. They're going to swing 6,000 at me again, and this time I am going to just take it, looking for some answers. We do get a Jack, which I think we'd rather have some counter power there, but hey, it is what it is. Now I've got some very interesting options. I definitely want to get rid of one of the big bodies, probably the Rayleigh. I can do that by using Ice Age and then playing out Jack. Or I could Ice Age and then play Soap Sheep and then do a Gecko into Lucci play. I really like that idea. The question is, do I get rid of the pudding uh, during my Lucci play? Or I could get rid of the ace if I swing first with leader. Now, I should have swung first with leader, minusing ace, then doing Soap Sheep and doing it to the Rayleigh and the ace, popping the Rayleigh, and then they would use ace's ability, but then I could have swung into the ace that only would have been 4,000 power. Uh, I was kind of thinking about that play at first, and so that's why I used Soap Sheep on it. But then I do decide not to do that. That was definitely a misplay on my part because I am just going to swing into the ace first. I don't know why I did this. This was just a misplay. But alas, we carry on. We are going to swing 5,000 into lead, which they do give me the 2K. At least they're running low on hand size. Uh, I can at least do a Moria, establish another big body. We could go Rebecca Spandine, I believe, and so at least we have that. And because we have a Suru, we're able to salvage this play and use Lucci to get rid of the pudding. Ideally, we should have done this first and gotten rid of the ace and then swung into it. But hey, misplays happen. That is just the way the game goes. We're able to clear two bodies off board. Two Rebeccas, two Geckos, one Lucci. I think we're in a decent spot. Not allowed a counter though, and so if they find a way to get rid of both my Rebeccas and swing into life, it's going to be bad news for us. Here we have my opponent giving me a little bit of a tip, and I absolutely agree. I just misplayed a little bit, but it is what it is. They're going to use their ability, drawing one card. Hopefully they don't put one at the top. If they put one at the top, I'm going to assume that it's going to be a dangerous card. They're going to put it to the top and minus 2,000 power from Gecko. Then they're going to play down the Rayleigh, minusing the Gecko, popping the Lucci. This is not a good sign. At least we might be able to get out of this. 6,000 at me. I do have a 2K I can give to protect my Gecko here. I'm not going to block because I'm going to want to block out of the Sanji hit. I guess it doesn't matter if I block once as long as I leave a blocker up for the 9,000 swing from Sanji. And here they go, 6,000 at him. I can counter again. I have officially used up all my counter, but it doesn't really matter. They are going to actually concede a little bit early, but I had no choice but to go all in on this next turn, and they would not have had any counter to stop me. So that game was basically over because I had to go for game there. I didn't even have a choice to play it safe. Next up, we have a game against Vegapunk. This leader is all over the sim today. I think between its Treasure Cup topping and some recent performances in Europe and Asia, people are starting to wake up to just how good this leader is. I'm not convinced that it's just a generically good leader that anyone can pilot, but under the right pilot, it definitely seems like a really hard deck to beat. My game plan is just to be aggressive and then KO bodies that they trigger whenever I get the chance, trying to keep their board as small as possible and still applying pressure, because if I don't apply pressure, they will develop a unreasonably high life total. Just because with various cards and their leader ability, they can add cards to their life pretty frequently. They are going to rest one Don and then put the Atlas at the top of their life and then play out a Jewelry Bonnie. They are going to swing 5,000 with Lilith into my Spandam. They can certainly have that. I will be okay to take the pressure off my life. Now, I will get rid of the Lilith or the Jewelry Bonnie with a Who's Who play here, I think. The question is, which one do I want to get rid of? I think I'm going to start out by swinging 5 into their Lilith, see if they give it to me. and then we'll minus a cost to the Lilith, hoping that they think it's going to die this turn, so they just let it go and don't protect it. They will give me the 2k, which is unfortunate, but no fear. We are going to drop the Who's Who, pop the Jewelry Bonnie, because Jewelry Bonnie's effect lets them get value pretty often. And so to prevent that, we're going to get rid of the Bonnie, leave the Lilith alive. They're going to put another Atlas at the top of their life. This is what I was talking about. They're able to stack cards on their life, and it is very easy to fall behind. 5,000 at me with Lilith. I'll take that. They developed a Shaka blocker, which is annoying. Shaka is a 5-cost, 6,000 power character, a blocker. So I'm going to have to invest Don to swing into this Lilith this turn. Of course, I don't have to, but I don't want them to have a free block either. So I will invest 1 Don, swing 6,000 into the Lilith. Then I'll go -1 to Shaka. I don't really have an ideal way to lower its cost 1 more to play another Who's Who. I would have to either use an Ice Age or a Tsuru, which doesn't feel very good. Those are pretty valuable cards in my deck, and I don't think this turn is worth using them on the Shaka. I'm going to go 6,000 again, and then just play out the Borsellino blocker. This Borsellino blocker makes me feel pretty happy. It is going to be hard for them to get rid of it. 1 Don for their leader ability. Are they going to put it to the life or the field? They're going to put it to the field. It is an S-Snake. S-Snake is a really good card. I think people are sleeping on it. It prevents my Who's Who from attacking next turn. And then they're going to play the new Charlotte Linlin from the new starter deck 20. I have to choose between trashing 2 cards or trashing a life, and I trashed a life. That life ended up being Gecko Moria. That feels very bad, but hey, it is what it is. We're going to start out with a Tempest Kick to the Charlotte Linlin. We will be able to get rid of it with one of our Who's Who's. I don't think we'll be able to get rid of any other cards, which is unfortunate, but the Linlin is the biggest threat on the field right now, and so we will trash. It feels bad to trash a 2K, especially a Khalifa, but I think the Tsurus are more important, and having some KO cards like Who's Who are also very important. The Khalifa would have helped us find some more cards to play, but we had to make a tough decision. They've got another Charlotte Linlin, which I choose to trash another life, and then they're going to swing big with S-Snake, and I am going to use my Borsellino blocker. I am hoping to find a Gecko or something, but we do draw the Jack. The Jack is not too bad. We will be able to Ice Age the Linlin and then use Jack's ability to KO it. We're going to go 6,000 into the S-Snake. They have to take this or block with Shaka. They are going to let it go, which makes me happy. Now I'm going to Ice Age the Linlin and then play out Jack. We're going to rest the Jack to KO it. We get the Soap Sheep, which is kind of helpful, but we'd rather keep the Tsurus because they're 2Ks and the Who's Who for their KO power. We don't swing into life with the Who's Who's just because they're going to trigger out those Atlases. We need to develop some bodies so we'll be able to swing into life multiple times. The good news is that they don't have any cards in hand. They have 1 and they aren't able to do anything with it. I wonder what it is. They can't swing with leader, and they decide not to swing with Shaka just because I would get rid of it the next turn. We're going to start out with 6,000 with leader, minusing 1 cost from Shaka. We do have some removal in our hand. A Gecko would be better, but I think we'll be able to clear their board, at least a decent amount of their board. The only rush cards that Vegapunk probably run are 10 cost ace, 5 cost ace, and if they're really crazy, maybe 7 cost Anel. We're going to get rid of one of the Atlases with our Jack. Then I'm debating on whether or not to swing into life. I might just use the Tsuru here. Yes, I'm using 2Ks, which doesn't feel good, but I am clearing their board, and I like where we're going to be this next turn. We have completely cleared their board. I think we're in a pretty good position to go for game next turn, depending on what they top deck. They're going to play out the Edison, which lets them draw 2 and then trash 2. And then they're going to play Please Save Me, using their leader ability to their life. With that, they'll probably play out a Shaka blocker or a S-Snake to freeze one of my attackers. That is not really a big deal. We're going to start by swinging 5,000 with Who's Who. This is a guaranteed hit, unless they have a card under the table. With the event triggered, they are going to play out the moment of truth. The anticipation is building. The people can't wait any longer. They are going to play out the S-Snake, which freezes the Who's Who, which actually they should have frozen the Rob Lucci, but it doesn't really matter anyway. It's just a numbers game. The reason they couldn't freeze the Jack is because S-Snake has a limit of I believe it's 6 cost or less. Now we can just go 5 with Lucci, pray that they don't have some sort of crazy trigger. Even if they did, we would be able to just throw all our Don on Tsuru and swing that way and win. GG's. Next up is the meta-defining matchup of the 8.5 meta, Rob Lucci versus Uta. That was a joke. I don't think anyone has been waiting for this matchup. It's kind of off meta. Uta really isn't played a ton, even though she got a little bit of a boost with the new starter deck. I think the consensus is that Bonnie is just a better green leader overall. I imagine Lucci is favored into this matchup as long as I can see my removal, which, let's be honest, 9 out of 10 times Lucci is. We are on the odd curve. We did not have a turn 1 play, and we do not even have a turn 2 play, so we are just going to swing big into their life. I imagine they'll take this. Using leader ability, we do mull a Gecko Moria. That feels bad, but at least we have one in our hand. I don't think they have any way to interact with our hand, which is nice. This is not like the Doflamingo matchup where you constantly have to worry about getting Charlotte Puddinged. Passing it to them with 4 Don up, we might see a Brook into Nami play here. We could see a leader swing with 1 Don active that lets them draw a card. They're going to start out with a 5,000 swing from leader, no Don. I think we should just take this. I don't think it makes sense to trash our Rebecca or Khalifa here. We'll get the Ice Age, which is perfect. We love to see that. Then they're going to go Brook into Katakuri, the new Katakuri. This Katakuri is very strong. 3 cost, 4,000 power, but if you have 6 or more rested cards, it gains 2,000 power. It feels bad, but I think I'm just going to use leader ability and Soap Sheep to clear both of these bodies with Rob Lucci. Yes, I'm going to have to put 3 cards from my trash back into my deck, which is not ideal so early with Rob Lucci, but getting rid of these cards will allow a lot of pressure to get off my back because they will definitely apply a lot of pressure. We're going to do it. We're going to throw down the Rob Lucci, put back the Gecko, the Soap Sheep, and I'm debating between Borsellino and Rob Lucci. I decided to go with the Borsellino, but I think Rob Lucci might have been better. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. That Lucci I will be able to bring back with the Gecko Moria, which is nice. But yeah, Borsellino is just a beast as well. 6,000 at me using leader ability. They are able to draw another Charlotte Katakuri. I'm debating on whether or not I want to take this. I think that the right play is just to take it, and we get a Rebecca. That's a decent find. It'll help us bring back some counter power later in the game. For 3 Don, they can play down the Nami, and then using Nami's ability, they rest 1 and draw a Sanji 2K from EB01. They ended up floating a Don there. Not ideal, but I was going to take the leader swing, whether it was 6K or 7K. We're going to start out with a 6,000 power swing from our Lucci character. They 2K out of it. Now we're going to go 5,000 with our leader. We are going to have 7 Don to work with, and we are going to be able to play down the Jack. I think it's going to be hard for them to remove this Jack right away. If they have Shanks, that will be able to clear the Jack pretty nicely unless we can find a Sabo. But I'm not too afraid of that because we do have Gecko Moria. We do have Rebecca's that could bring the Jack back to our hands, which is very nice. So, not the end of the world if they Shanks it. And they find the Shanks, so we know almost guaranteed is going to come out next turn. 6,000 at us, and this is where I have to start considering whether or not we should counter out. I do think that in hindsight, countering out is the right play here because I am worried about them having I am Invincible's late game, and so we don't want to go down too low in life. They've got 7 Don to work with here. We are going to see the Monkey D. Luffy. That is a classic Uta play at 7 Don, and they're going to bring out the 4 cost Uta blocker that is new from Starter Deck 16. We could Ice Age and Gecko here. That would be a powerful play. We could also Ice Age, then Jack. We're going to start out by using Ice Age to lower the cost of their Luffy by 5, then using Jack to draw a card, and then we'll trash one. I think maybe trashing the Rebecca is okay because we can bring it back with Gecko. We're going to rest our Jack to KO their Luffy. That is very nice. And then we're going to swing 5,000, which they are just going to free block with their Uta. Now I'm going to swing 6,000 into the Uta blocker. This is mostly just bait to get counter out of their hands. If they let it go, fine. But if they don't, I think I'm going to be able to clear this Uta either way. We're going to start out with Gecko and then play out the Rebecca off of Gecko's second ability. I can play out Spandam. I'll play the Spandam, draw the Who's Who 2K, and then off of Rebecca, I am going to pick up a Jack just because I know this other Jack is probably going to die. I think that wasn't the most optimal play. I think I actually would have been able to clear both their Uta and Luffy cards there in that play, which would have been better, but it's all right. We got to bring back a Jack, which will be helpful in clearing this Shanks. They drop the Shanks for 9 Dond, KO my Jack, RIP, and then they're going to swing 6,000. Is it going to be into lead or into my Lucci character? It is going to go into the leader, and with their ability, they do find the Sanji 2K. I am just going to block with the Rebecca because I am afraid of getting hit with the backlight and then the Rebecca getting rested and not get any value from it. Then they're going to give it Don to their Uta blocker using Uta's ability and swing 7. I'm going to take that. I like the aggression on their part. I think that was a cool play for them. I'm going to retaliate with 6,000 with my Lucci character into the Uta. I'm just trying to get cards out of hand here. Now with 6,000 to their Uta character with my Rob Lucci, minusing their Uta by 1. So now the Uta is at 3. Now I could actually get rid of both of their Shanks and Uta by using Soap Sheep on both and then playing down a Rob Lucci. It feels bad maybe not putting out a character, which is a little bit sketchy. I decide to swing 9,000 into the Uta. I'm sure they'll give me this. They don't, which I find surprising. And it's a little bit risky, but I do think that there is merit to playing down the Rob Lucci instead of the Jack just because it clears both bodies. I really do need a blocker, though. I don't have a Spandine in my trash, I don't think, so I can't do a Rebecca Spandine Lucci play. That would have been great. I am going to give 3 Don to my Spandam and swing 5,000 into leader just to apply a little bit of pressure. I had the Don left over, so might as well. And here I'll play down the Rob Lucci, being a little bit risky with not a lot of counter in hand and no blockers up, but I was able to clear their board. A couple I'm Invincibles, though, and I could be looking down the barrel of lethal. They're going to start their turn by 5,000 at my Spandam and KO it. And then they're going to play down the Shanks to get rid of the Gecko Moria. They could have added a Don to their Uta and got a free draw there, so you don't want to forget that, folks. We're going to start out with 6,000 from my Luccis. I had planned to be a little bit defensive here, going for a Gecko into Rebecca Spandam play to draw some 2Ks back to hand. But they just concede because they wouldn't have been able to stop that other 6,000 Rob Lucci swing. And if that was the case and they took both of those hits and had no life, I would have just swung all in with leader. So that's game. Rob Lucci doing Rob Lucci things and just popping every single character whenever I get the chance. GG's, fun match. Ladies and gentlemen, what did you think of those games? I've been having a lot of fun playing this deck. I know there'll be some comments booing Black, saying F in the chat. We lost the good man. Johnny TCG has switched to Black. But hey, I've only got one video of him so far, and I definitely have some other videos coming out with some more fun leaders. I definitely agree that Black as a color is just overpowered right now. Gecko into Rebecca into Spandine into Lucci is just too crazy of a combo, and I stand against it as well. But of course, I'm going to use it when I can. If you want to win the SpongeBob Moneybob Don, all you have to do is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. And if you made it this far, consider hitting that subscribe button. That's all I've got today. Thank you for watching. Peace.